Racing. One of the most unambiguous things in the world. The faster you are means the better you are. Geometry Dash has its own types of racing too. Seems pretty strange for a game where you can never get faster at any levels because they're always on a strict time limit. But that doesn't mean people have managed. One type of race seen in this game is a verification race, one where two players race to see how fast they could verify a certain level, usually of extreme difficulty. However, I am here to tell everybody that all these cause are pain. I literally couldn't find any good reason to enjoy verification races. The fabled underdog story where a new contender beats a pro player to the punch that everyone builds up over a couple of months while that player is attempting to verify it has most, if not all the time, never come true. All these do is waste time, a lot of time, that we could spend towards other things. I used to think that verification races were fun, but in the present, they are nothing near that. I think this could all start with the case of Tartarus, a classic case of the Tortoise and the Cheetah. Tartarus is one of the most iconic extreme demons to have ever come out of Geometry Dash, and for good reason. It was the #1 extreme demon for a total of 17 months. Because of this, people focus a lot more on what it took to bring down this demon from its throne than what it took to put it up there in the first place. The person you have to blame for this is a player named Molzy. Molzy, a definitely good player, no doubt, but he's a long way from the top. Despite this, he decided it was in his best interest to go for Tartarus. You see, at this point in time, Tartarus is not usually talked about in the community. All it was at the time was an old impossible level, with the only real eye-catching factor being that it was made by Riot and quite a few old community figures. But it was technically possible. All that needed to happen was somebody to put the time and effort into verifying it, and that's what Molzy did. On January 13th, 2019, Molzy made his first bit of progress, and over the next few months he would slowly build his way up to 91% in March of 2019. Overall slow progress, but still very good for the skill level of Molzy. At this point, he would get a little stuck right before the finish line. It took him until July 29th of 2019 to get 6% more progress. Of course, Molzy had no worries. He was the only one in this race, right? Wrong. There was this other player named It's Dolphy who got 55% just around 2 weeks before Molzy's 97% failed. Still, Dolphy was quite a long way away from Molzy, so Molzy should still be able to beat it before Dolphy did. And that seemed to be the case, with Dolphy not making any more progress after that, until December, where something crazy happened. By the turn of the new year, Dolphy verified Tartarus. People couldn't believe it. People tried to say that he hacked. People waited for Molzy to beat it a month later to crown him the verifier of Tartarus, but none of it was true. Dolphy was the verifier of Tartarus. He beat it before Molzy did. People consider this the biggest choke in all of Geometry Dash. In my opinion, there is no risk of a choking hazard in the first place. It just came out of nowhere, unlike the next category. While I might be able to debate the fact that the race to beat Tartarus was a choke, I cannot defend this next one at all. Choking in Geometry Dash is a term relatively limited towards dying near the end of levels. It doesn't matter how much you practice that part, how much easier it is compared to the rest of the level. You just die. It happens to everyone, and fortunately there's always next attempt and you can continue playing to eventually beat it. People in verification races aren't given this luxury though. You never know if your opponent is right on your tail, or whether this attempt is your last shot to beat it before your opponent does. Every attempt counts. So getting stuck at one part long enough for your opponent to beat you is very much the definition of a choke. And unfortunately, this has happened before, to the player named Vision. Vision is a very strange player. He's dedicated most of his time playing Geometry Dash to one level, Silent Club Step, one of the most infamous impossible levels in this game's history. The person who would verify it would be launched into the spotlight, and solidified in the history of Geometry Dash forever. There were quite a few contenders in the race over the years, but at this point in time, there were really only 2 people in the race. Those people were Vision and another player by the name of Paquo. By the 20th of February, Vision had gotten a world record of 65%, while Poco only had a record of 25%. All that Vision needed to do now was pass 65%. 65% is a very hard choke point in the level, but with time and effort and the 40% head start on Poco, he should be able to beat it before Poco could even get close to him. All he has to do is pass this one part. He died there 8 more times after the first death, and by his 10th death at 65%, Poco did it. She verified Silent Club Step. This is probably the most heartbreaking choke in all of Geometry Dash. Vision had dedicated most of his playing career to this level, with his hardest at the time only being Black Blizzard, while Molzy hadn't sacrificed most of his time playing the game to Tartarus. It is very sad to see. Many people on Twitter argued about how Vision deserved to be the one to verify it, starting a small hate mob around Poco just because she beat it before Vision did. And to this day, Vision is still trying to beat it, finally getting past 25% on July 23rd, dying at 72%. It seems like any day now he could beat it, but the day he could verify it is long past us now. You know, I'm kinda glad that Silent Club Step's race stayed the way it was. It did seem like too many known players try to intervene, whether it was for views or for a chance to be the one to verify it. Of which has happened before. Whenever this happens, many people in the YouTube comment sections consider this to be a grand crossover event, where many of the best players try to bring down a near impossible level. However, whenever this happens, I consider it to be nothing but a big fucking mess. I'd like to say that the cases of Abyss of Darkness and Akron fall under the mess category. You see, AOD was an old impossible extreme demon, hack verified by Exit. It was generally forgotten by many people except for one, the player Dill's Thick. He was making some progress on it in mid-July 2020, and decided to stick with it despite the little attention he was getting from these videos. It wasn't until his 95% death video where people started to pay attention. On the contrary, Akron was made as a spiritual successor to Tartarus. Harder ships, harder waves, new top 1. The verification was handed off to the player Wolves, who made quick progress on it. Now, you see, this is where the two stories start to get very similar. Both of these levels started gaining quite a bit of popularity in the community. Everybody just patiently waiting for it to be verified, so they could try it out for themselves. But after Dills died at 98% twice, and Wolves died at 92%, they both decided to drop their projects, leaving both the levels as open verifications. Then, a frenzy soon followed.
Ooh, that's good.
Any player, hacker, commentator were trying to get a piece of the AOD Akron pies. That left very little to actually go around. There were so many people making progress at totally different times, it was hard to keep up with it all. The one thing that people usually credit towards being the fun thing about level races, rooting for somebody, was completely undoable. There was so much white noise about these levels that all you could really do was wait out the storm until somebody eventually beat it. I'd like for you to find the greatest common factor out of each of the examples I just covered. I'd like to say that the greatest common factor out of all of these races is the pain that comes with them. Someone always gets the short end of the stick. Nowadays, being the first person to do something in this game is all you could ever wish for, because you are now immortalized in this game's history forever. These people are now immortalized by coming so close to making history. No matter how hard they tried, how long they grinded levels out for, how close they ever got, they didn't end up being first, and now they're doomed to forever sit below their competitor. How long will this go on for? I'm not too sure. You see, the harder demons get, the more it deviates from the skill of the player and goes more towards how much time you could spend throwing attempts at it until you eventually beat it. That's why we're seeing so many impossible levels get verified nowadays. They've just been around for enough time for people to start beating them. So, as long as we got old impossible levels to burn, there's no real end in sight. What we can do to stop this from happening is a very hard question. People don't usually like being assigned to beat an insanely hard level. It sucks all the fun out of playing the game and becomes more of a chore they have to do every day. Most players who are assigned verifications for really hard levels barely pull through. Most of the time, the player will quit before they ever finish it, or just hack it to get it over with. So for the next few years, these last-second finishes, inconceivable chokes, and frenzies of virality will continue to come. We'll just have to adapt to it if we ever want a future to the difficulty ceiling in this game. And that's why I believe all verification races are stupid. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one. Bye.